Hi everyone, my name is Moses Ramakulukusha. I'm from the National Department of Environment, Forest and Fisheries. I am representing the Marine Spatial Planning Secretariat and I'll be delivering a presentation on the development of marine spatial planning in South Africa. The outline of my presentation is as follows. I will touch on what MSP is about, how MSP works, the parties involved in this process, their responsibilities, and lastly, the process from the beginning to where we are at the moment. But before we continue with that, I'd like to encourage you to click on any of the link and watch this 5-minute video that has been prepared by our partners. This video explains the MSP process in a nutshell. So now that you've watched the video, we can now continue with the MSP process in South Africa. So we have a number of sectors in our marine environment, and these sectors have different interests and different objectives. So the role of MSP is to bring these sectors together to ensure that activities in our marine environment happens at the right time, at the right place, and with sectors having full understanding of the implication of their decisions on each other. In the development of MSP, we want a South Africa with a productive, healthy, and safe ocean that is accessible, understood, equitably governed, and sustainably developed and managed for the benefit of all. So now how do we do that? So we have aims of MSP, and the first is the unlocking of the ocean's economy. This is an aim that is linked to the ocean's economy under Operation Pakisa, which was launched by the President in 2014. The second one is to enable society to engage with the ocean. The third one is to ensure a healthy marine ecosystem. And really this is the foundation, because without a healthy marine ecosystem, all the sectors in our marine environment will collapse. The last one is to promote good ocean governance through working together. So coming into the role of MSP, the aim is not to replace the single sector management of the marine environment that is happening at the moment, but the aim is to provide a framework where decision making across the different sectors will be integrated. And the output from this process will be a comprehensive sustainable development plan that is going to prescribe where and when uses across sectors can occur in the ocean. So these uses will cut across all the sectors such as transport, energy, conservation, mining, fisheries, aquaculture, and defense. So where do we get the directive for the undertaking of MSP in South Africa? We have the Marine Spatial Planning Act, Act number 16 of 2018, and here these are just some of the key objectives coming from that act. The first one is to provide for a framework for the development of MSP. This framework provides high-level direction of how MSP should be undertaken. The second one is to provide for the development of marine area plans. So there will be plans that will be developed in this process, and this is where we are going to spend most of our time in the next coming years. And lastly, we need to provide for institutional arrangement where MSP will be facilitated across all these sectors that are participating. So just to zoom into the institutional arrangement, the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, where I'm coming from, has been designated as the lead authority to facilitate the MSP process. And in that role, the department collaborates with all authorities that have a mandate in the South African marine environment, and also with those outside government that are users of the ocean space. So during the different stages, there will be different level of collaboration where the secretariat in the department will have to work with everyone to ensure that as we develop these plans, everyone is involved. So in terms of the Act, there are 3 committees that can develop MSP in the country. And the first one is the National MSP Working Group, where departments come together and send officials to represent the needs of the sector. And the work that comes from this National MSP Working Group is elevated to the two committees above, the Directors General Committee and the Ministerial Committee. And these two committees approve the work of the National MSP Working Group. To go into a little bit more about the National MSP Working Group, this is a group with officials at a technical level who have the responsibility to develop MSP and to implement MSP. At this stage, we are focused on the development of marine area plans. So this group has a number of officials from national department supported by their agencies. So this is just to show a list of some of the sectors participating in this process. Now, just to share a little bit about the responsibilities of the Directors General Committee and the Ministerial Committee on MSP, these two committees are essentially the same in terms of their responsibilities. Both can approve marine area plans. However, the DG's committee, after approving marine area plans, will need to then take the marine area plans to the Ministerial Committee for final approval. So moving into the marine planning area phase, we intend to develop 4 marine areas, and these 4 marine areas will be the western, the southern, the eastern, and the Prince Edward Islands marine area plans. So at this current stage, the boundaries that you see there are based on the information that we have, but with new information coming as we go into the planning phase, we might have to shift the boundaries to accommodate new information and to ensure that these are the best boundaries that will represent what is of interest in a particular planning area. So in this process, our point of departure is the MSP Act, and under the MSP Act we have the framework, and we are currently developing a national data and information report, which is going to be our knowledge baseline. So these 3 documents will then be used as a foundation for the development of the 4 marine area plans. So just to share the structure of these 4 marine area plans, under the structure we'll have MSP goals, we'll have general development guidelines, we'll have sector development objectives, we'll have zoning principles, and in some cases we'll have sector development guidelines and zoning regulations. So I'll be talking more about the general development guidelines, sector development guidelines, and zoning principle shortly. So under general development guidelines, this is where as decision makers we will need to ensure that the overall vision and goals across the 4 area plans to be developed are consistent with the overall vision and goal for MSP. And this will have to be applied throughout the South African marine environment where we have marine area plans in place. Moving into the sector development objective, this is where sectors need to bring forward their sector priorities. So what a particular sector wants to achieve or wants to protect, this will be reflected in this section. And this can be at a national level or can be specific to a planning area. And then under that, we will then have the sector development guidelines. So this is where sectors will need to prescribe how they intend to achieve their sector development objectives. So in this section, we'll expect sectors to state what they want to do in order for them to achieve a particular priorities as listed in the sector development objectives. And lastly, there might be instances where we need to zone certain areas, and again, sectors will have to place restriction on certain activities that might not be consistent with objectives of areas where they have zones. So this will also be part of the marine area plan structures that will be developed. So coming to the relationship between terrestrial and marine planning, we acknowledge that The terrestrial planning sector has been doing planning for a number of years, and there's lessons to be taken from that. There's a tradition that we can also adopt. And in the end, MSP will have to recognize and align with the municipal and provincial planning to ensure that there's coherence and consistency. So we've already started engagement with the parties responsible for the development of the National Spatial Development Framework so that they can be consistent with the Marine Spatial Planning Framework. So there's continuing engagement to ensure that the terrestrial plans and marine spatial plans are aligned and complement each other. So MSP is not only being done in South Africa or in the African continent. There are a number of countries that have started rolling MSP all over the globe, and South Africa was one of the first few countries in the continent to roll out MSP. So this slide is just to show areas across the globe where countries are in different stages of MSP. Some are in the pre-planning, some are in plan development, and some are revising the plans that exist at the moment. So again, here this is to show in a map form areas where MSP have been approved, areas where MSP is being implemented, and areas where there's partial MSP and areas where there's no MSP at all. So the light blue shows areas where MSP has been approved. The yellow shows areas where MSP is being developed. The dark blue shows areas where MSP have been approved, and the gray shows areas where there's no MSP at all. So in the development of MSP, we have collaborated with international and regional partners to ensure that what we are doing is in line with what the international community is doing. So in that process, we have learned that the best time to start planning is now. Yes, countries are different. We might not have the same challenges that countries in other parts of the world are faced with, but with a growing economy, with a growing oceans economy, there's going to be times when there's conflict among sectors, and the best time to start to address that is now, where we need to bring these sectors together so that they understand how they can move from now going forward. We've also learned that with the first cycle of marine spatial plans, there might be a lot that needs to be addressed in the second phase. So we do understand that these plans that we're going to be developed will need to be revisited over time to ensure that their objectives are in line and address what is of national interest at the time. We've also learned that it is important to engage with stakeholders to ensure that at different levels of marine spatial plans development, stakeholders are involved and they are encouraged to contribute to this process. So we maintain working relationship with our neighbors, particularly those under the Bangla Grant Convention and the Nairobi Convention at this stage, to ensure that these MSP plans that we plan to develop are aligned to what our neighbors are doing on the other side. Outside the African continent, we have collaborations with Germany and Sweden. Germany is at a stage where it's now working on its second generation of MSP plans, and Sweden is just about to have its very first MSP being implemented. So we've had an opportunity to learn from these two countries. So some of the key important issues that we have learned from our partners are that the strategic environmental assessment is an important element during the development of marine spatial plans. We've also learned that countries need to ensure that there's capacity for the implementation of marine spatial plans. Just to summarize, as we are about to conclude, the process that we have been on from 2014 up to now. In 2014, we had AGESA launched and MSP was prioritized as part of this process. 2015, the MSP working group was established with a number of departments, sectors coming together. The framework was published in 2017 to provide high-level guidance. The MSP Act provides the mandate for us to undertake MSP. And in 2021, we are developing the MSP Data and Information Report, which should be published sometime in the beginning of the financial year. So as we conclude, these are some of the key documents that we have at this stage. We have the MSP Act, we have the MSP framework. We will be sharing the National Data and Information Report when it's published. And in this report, one can expect to find the outline of the status quo across sectors in our marine environment, issues that MSP can address, and also the knowledge baseline upon which the development of plans will be based upon. And lastly, we are finalizing the development of the MSP website. You should be able to click on the link there and visit our website. This is a website that is going to serve as a one-stop shop with background information and all documents that have been developed to date. We are also planning to use this website as an online mechanism to engage with stakeholders in the next coming steps. We also have the Msp Support Viewer under the Oceans and Coastal Information Management System, where users can be able to interact with maps that have been produced as part of this process. So for now, that's all on the development of MSP in South Africa at the moment. Please do contact us for more information on the details shown on the screen. Thank you very much.